that kind of mic. Okay. Good. Good. All right, Unity of Hartford, good morning. God bless you. All right, in the house. So before we get started, let me just say to those of you joining us online, God bless you. All right, we love you, we bless you, but if you are at all nearby, I invite you, suit up, show up. All right? You know, you could go to Broadway and hear a song like Carolyn just offered. But instead of driving the 2 hours to Manhattan, you could come to Sunday service and be blessed. That's world-class singing right here. World-class sanctuary, world-class ministry. Come and be embraced in love by this community. We love you. We bless you. Come and celebrate with us. All right. So, once upon a time, a spiritual teacher was invited to a university campus to offer a talk. And he is late. About 250 people in the audience. 20 minutes go by, doesn't show up. 30 minutes, you know, students, they're getting antsy, right? So he finally shows up. He shows up and he says, well, I apologize for being late. And we're willing to return your money to you if you'd like. However, let me say the following. The spiritual journey is full of challenges, deception, deceit, and disappointments. And it is best not to begin. But if you've already started, it is best to continue. Now we'll be happy to offer your money back. So let's continue, shall we? So today is Palm Sunday. And we remember Palm Sunday as a triumphal entrance of Jesus into Jerusalem. Hosanna, the palms, oh, here comes the spiritual teacher, here comes the master. What a great moment in our lives. This is from the point of view of all those who are greeting him. My question is, what's going on inside of Jesus? We have clear evidence that he knew exactly what was going to go down in a matter of days. Right? He knew he was going to be arrested, tortured, probably crucified. In other words, he was coming in to face his physical death. So my question is, as he's riding into Jerusalem, what is he holding in his heart? How is he perceiving this situation? Yes, he celebrates with the people. All right, Hosanna, come on with the palms. But what's going on inside? And that's what we're going to focus on today. Why? Because I feel that all of us would probably agree that we are living in a world that is very unpredictable right now. I would say even dangerous. All right? I believe that we've been hijacked by fear. I think fear is roaming the countryside. And most of it is unprocessed. What do I mean by that? What happens when we have a feeling that is uncomfortable, unpleasant, and we don't like it? We tend to want to repress it. Rather than face it, feel it completely, give it all the space that it needs, we tend to repress. And you know what happens with repressed feelings? Particularly the negative ones. You know what happens when we're not willing to face these thoughts and feelings? They become toxic inside of us. And they affect our body, they affect our mind, our heart, and our soul. So I think all of us are living a moment of tremendous insecurity. And I did a little research on insecurity. No expert, but I learned two things which I found was very interesting, the way humans react to insecurity. The first way is we look to control others. We want to impose control on others so that we feel secure. This is the phenomenon of the bully. The bully is insecure. Let me control others so that I can be at peace. That's one way we react to insecurity. The other way is also very interesting. If we feel we don't want to or can't control others, we would be willing to sacrifice our own freedom so that we can grab on to something stable that we see somebody else offering. So we're willing in our human nature to give up our freedom in order to feel a little bit more stable and more secure. Apparently, stability is more important than freedom in the human consciousness. And of course, both of those things is a perfect environment, a perfect culture for creating totalitarianism and authoritarianism, etc., etc. And I think that's the world that we're living in right now. And in that, I remember that Gandhi was asked once upon a time, hey, what do you think about Western civilization? And he said, I think it's a great idea. This is a poem by Drew Dellinger, Heliographic Stairway. It's 3:23 in the morning, and I'm awake because my great-great-grandchildren won't let me sleep. My great-great-grandchildren ask me in dreams, what did you do when the planet was plundered? What did you do when the earth was unraveling? What did you do? Surely you did something when the seasons started failing as the mammals and reptiles and birds were all dying. Did you fill the streets with protest when democracy was stolen? What did you do once you knew? What did you do once you knew? Now the poem goes on, but that's the essence of it. What did you do once you knew? And guess what? I think we know. Right? We see the signs on the wall. And so, in that moment, I asked myself that question. What is mine to do in this moment? I see this happening. What is mine to do? Frankly, the first impulse, put the covers over my head. Don't watch the news. Get away from the newspapers. Don't even talk to people about all this stuff, right? Can't live like that. My second impulse is to get angry, want to hit something, want to shake somebody, want to slap somebody across the face. Are you with me there? Yeah. Want to grab somebody, shake them, and say, hey, dude, your ego is not your amigo. Wake up. Your ego is not your amigo. Wake up. But then, in all of my searching, I came up with a brilliant idea. This is radical, ladies and gentlemen, radical. Oh yeah, light bulb went off. I said, I need a spiritual solution.
Exactly.
Huh? Radical? I need a spiritual solution. When that light bulb went off, you know what I did? I went looking on the internet. Oh yeah, I said to myself, somebody on YouTube has got to have the right spiritual message that I need to find my direction through these times. So I looked over here and I looked over there and I saw a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of great stuff out there. Oh yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. But none of it was feeding my soul. And then In all that searching, another light bulb goes off, says, I was ordained 34 years ago as a Unity minister. Do you think I might have a clue? That's when I came to the realization, hey, dude, talking to myself, you know what to do. And guess what? You know what to do. Okay? We come here, we celebrate one presence, one power. Hello. One presence, one power. God the good omnipotence. We come here to pray, to meditate, to be embraced by community, a spiritual community of people. And let me say this very clearly. There is only one solution to the suffering of the world, and it is a spiritual solution. No politics, no science, no technology is going to take us home. Very clear. So we need to focus on inner transformation. The spiritual solution is the only solution to the spiritual disease of our time. And each one of us is charged with being that agent of peace. Now, I'm in this with you, okay? I'm right here in the mess with you. I can't stand the fact that we've promised good people some kind of support, aid, medicine, food, and we reneged on our commitment. I hate the fact that people are losing their jobs over nothing. I hate the fact that people are being deported. My wife and my daughter are here on what they call a green card. Legally, it's called a permanent resident card. The word permanent is no longer valid. It's no longer permanent. Yesterday, Saturday, there's a church on the corner of my street. I walk out every Saturday morning, go to work, and around 7 o'clock in the morning, there's always a long line of people outside waiting because this church has a food bank, and they hand out food to needy people, okay? The line is so long that it skirts around the block of the church. Yesterday, for some reason, there's a police car parked on the corner. I walk by, nobody's there. Oh yeah, the door's open, the volunteers are there, the food bags are all set up. Nobody is in line. Why? They're fearful they're going to be sent to some Salvadoran prison. Okay? So I'm right in the mix with you. And initially, what I'm beginning to do is focus, like I say, on the inner. I want to do those things which bring joy, peace, love, comfort to my soul. When I go into work, I have to take the bus. Instead of going all the way to my office, I'm stopping a few stops before to walk through Central Park to breathe, to see some trees and some grass. I love my work as a chaplain. I love that. I love coming here and speaking with you, sharing the truth in this community. I work as a wedding officiant, and to me, romantic love is just one step away from divine love, so I love being a wedding officiant. I'm a swimmer. I've upped my game in swimming. I need more exercise. But here's something I want to say to you. Please do not deny yourself what brings you joy. Please do not deny yourself what brings you joy, because if we have this unprocessed fear, and we do come into a space of joy, a lifting up, a moment of peace, in that environment, we can deal much better with that fear. But I think we need to go deeper. I think the time has come for us to take our spiritual practice and turn up the heat. I think we need to dedicate ourselves more. The idea of enlightenment is no longer a nice option in our life. All of us need to turn up the heat on our spiritual practice. Amen to that. That's right. And I realized that in my journey here, I needed kind of an identity, a persona that I could, embody. And I think I have one that's perfect for all of us. The spiritual warrior. The spiritual warrior. The spiritual warrior does not go out and fight against other humans. The spiritual warrior deals with their own inner transformation, their inner darkness, their inner fear. Okay? And so in that journey of searching into darkness within ourselves, let me remind you of a story from a galaxy far, far away. Anybody here not know the Star Wars story? Okay, there's a few of you. So let me summarize it for you. A young farm boy named Luke Skywalker decides he doesn't like what's happening in his world. The Galactic Empire is oppressing the people, killing some, wanting to put them into slavery. He decides he's going to join the Rebel Alliance. Now, I was going to wear my Rebel Alliance t-shirt today, but I decided that I'd go traditional for you. But just imagine I got a t-shirt, Rebel Alliance on here, okay? So he joins the Rebel Alliance, and he's integrated into becoming a Jedi warrior. Now, the Jedis were masters in what they call the Force. The Force is a mystical energy based on interconnection. It is that interconnection that gives them power, all kinds of special abilities. That inner transformation that they have to go through is an interconnection. We could say it's all about divine love if we wanted to. And so he's trained, he's instructed on this. And he goes forth and he's going to defend, his people, the Rebel Alliance. When he encounters the fearsome Darth Vader. Ooh. The villain, right? And they have to fight. And the story of Star Wars really comes to a shocking truth when Luke is fighting Darth Vader. And suddenly it's revealed that Darth Vader is Luke's father. I am your father. Oh my God, now Luke's got a real problem on his hand. Here, not only has he been defending himself, he's trying to kill this guy. This guy's trying to kill him. Suddenly he's his father. Oh my God. Luke's got a dilemma on his hand. Now, it's interesting to note that Darth Vader was also a Jedi warrior, but he had been seduced into the dark side. The dark side is the promise of personal power. Power over. Remember what I said about human nature and insecurity? Seeking control, the bullies, right? Want to seek control over others. The dark side had promised him a sense of stability and security, and he went whole hog and he really was embodying it. So he'd been seduced away from the positive into the dark side. Now Luke is fighting him. Luke is tempted, I believe, to also be seduced by the dark side. Why? Because this is his father, right? So he might be seduced into that energy. Now, luckily, Luke had done his work. His training was effective. Luke was able to see his own aggression, fear, rage, anger, desire for revenge. See it all and still look out and see in the guy who was trying to kill him a precious soul. He was able to see beyond the mask and the actions to the inner beauty, the inner glory, the inner joy that was his father. Just to conclude the story, Luke gives him that perspective that affects Darth Vader. In another moment, key moment, Darth Vader kills the Emperor. Ooh, the maximum villain. But he is close to death. And before he dies, Luke is right there. Darth Vader takes off his mask. He says, I want to look on you as a father, not as an enemy. Takes off the mask. That's the power of your perspective. That is a spiritual warrior who is tempted to get into anger, into fear, into powerlessness, into insecurity, holding the truth. That's the power of the truth. So, inspired by that, I found 3 basic ideas. And you know, when I say I knew what to do and you know what to do, I'm just going to repeat some very basic things, but I think they're like sanctuaries for our time. You know, when I hear the news and I get emotional, negative emotions come up, these are the places where I go to help me. And by the way, another strategy I'm using is I'm taking my news in sips, not in gulps. I've decided that I'm only going to deal with 2 issues a day. Can't deal with the whole gulp. I've got to just 2 things I'm dealing with on a daily basis. So the 3 things or sanctuaries that I've identified is a sense of oneness or belonging, the importance of practice, daily practice, connecting with the divine, and trust. It's what I'm calling sanctuaries. So the first one is the sense of belonging. Now, when I think to myself, what did you do once you knew? And I feel like I need to do something. And I feel that it's just me. I feel very small, very alone, and very powerless. The truth is, we all belong. And we talk about oneness and unity all the time. But how often do we bring it on? Let me just remind you what's obvious. You're here in a spiritual community, an organization dedicated to oneness teachings, to divine presence, to love, to seeing the Christ in every individual. This is a community where we belong. And in that belonging, in that sense of oneness, there is strength. There is affirmation. There's a greater resilience that we can find. This is very important. I would say the only thing we need to watch out for is when we come into a place like this, we got to watch out for feeling a little just kind of separate or secular. Like, you know, we got the truth and nobody else does. We got it right, everybody else is wrong. No, our community is intended to celebrate that, to nurture that, but also to extend it out to all others. Right? It's all about extension. It's all about growth. And, you know, I believe that nobody is a villain in their own movie, right? Most people, they all want a more just and loving world. Most people love their family. Most people want to help their neighbors. Most people don't like the sense of separation that we may be feeling, right? And it's not about whether you voted liberal or conservative. We always have to remember that a bird has 2 wings, a left and a right wing, in order to fly. We need both, right? We need both. And you remember, of course, what Jesus said when asked, what is the most important commandment? Jesus laid down what's really important in our life. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. So we come here and we celebrate oneness. And you know what? In this sense of oneness that we feel, we can extend it out to others. And not only that, this sense of oneness is just a step away from I and the Father am one. It's just a step away from divine unity. You work on your oneness with your brother, with your sister, you come into divine awareness automatically. So belonging is the first of our sanctuaries. The second, practice. In our home, we decided we're going to increase our meditation time. We agreed on that, right? We need it. We need it. And you know, I heard a good definition of meditation. Meditation is not about stilling the mind. It's about observing your thoughts and seeing how crazy you are. Don't you love that? Why? Because when I begin to, give fear, I hear some news, I get angry, I get concerned, I get fearful. Oh, my family, oh, these poor people, oh, this thing, oh, my God, right? If I don't work with that, it gets stuck in the mind. And if I find you and you're stuck in your mind, and we find a third and we're all stuck in the mind, then we got a society based on unprocessed fear, and that society goes out and destroys, because that's what fear does. It destroys. So we have to turn up the heat on our practice. I work with many Catholic priests. There's a guy named Father Joseph Tran. He's an older guy, but man, this guy is solid. You shake his hand, you feel like you're shaking hands with a tree. Turns out he came from Vietnam when the Vietnam War was active. He was imprisoned because of his belief, and he escaped. And he left Vietnam in a small boat. You remember those small boats that were leaving Vietnam? And I sat down with him one day and I said, Father, would you tell me the story about that boat? And he said, in the small boat, we were afraid of storms. We were afraid of pirates. We didn't have much food. Everybody was focused on survival, right? A lot of fear. He says, but I discovered that if one person in that small boat was holding some presence, some peace, it would affect all the others on the boat. So, if the world is a small boat, Unity of Hartford is that one individual holding that presence, holding that peace. It's a spiritual warrior. In the midst of fear, in the midst of lack, in the midst of injustice, we hold presence. We hold firm to God. If we don't recognize grace within ourselves and in the world, we're lost, ladies and gentlemen. We are that small person, that one person on the small boat. Now, we're not the only one, okay, but we're an important part of that message. And we need to be it. We need to be that spiritual warrior, because otherwise fear will take over. So whatever it is that you do in your practice, go deeper. Do it better. Have at it. Have that practice with the intention of every day touching the sweetness of God's love. You know what that's like. Feeling the peace of God's presence. You know what that's like. You wouldn't be here otherwise. You have been touched by God. You have been lifted, healed, saved, resolved. You are living God's light and love, and every day you need to taste it. You need to live it. You need to feel it. However long that takes in your meditation, in your prayer, God is there. You're there. Come on. Let's have awe be in our heart. And the last sanctuary is trust. Trust maybe is the most important. You know, I'm sitting there on the couch, the latest news come up. Oh, God, another thing, right? Sometimes I forget my oneness with all of you. At those moments when I'm shocked, my spiritual practice seems far away indeed. And there's one thing that is usually there. It's kind of the last vestige before I jump into the dark side. Trust. I trust. I trust in God's grace, in God's presence. And it is that trust that helps me go sit and pray. It is that trust that motivates me to move my heart from fear to faith. It is that trust that it says to me, look, I can't see good in these holy ego minds, but I know it's there. I trust that it's there. Please help my unbelief. Please help me see the light in all my brothers and sisters. Let me see the good. Let me be a presence for good. This is the spiritual warrior, ladies and gentlemen. The one who remembers we're not alone. Not only are we part of this beautiful community here, we're part of a world community. We are all one in God, one in spirit, and we're one with God. That gives us a sense of belonging. But it requires practice. It's not just given to us. It requires us to do our work. Luke Skywalker was not able to see the good in Darth Vader unless he had done his work. And it requires trust. So let's go back to Jesus. He's walking into Jerusalem. Somebody says, what did you do when you knew? What did you do when you knew? He knew as he's coming in. If we could interview Jesus, he might say, well, you know, I took energy from the people who welcomed me into Jerusalem. All those palms, all those songs, all that celebration. I allowed it. I allowed myself to feel that I wasn't alone through this, that I was part of something greater. Not only am I one with these good people, but I'm also one with God. And I need to continue staying with my practice. Hello, what did he do in Gethsemane? I'm going to go off and pray. Why do you think Jesus needs to go off and pray? Because he needed it. We need it. I'm going to go off and pray. I'm going to remember because something heavy is coming down. And trust. Hanging on the cross. Why have you forsaken me? But underneath that was trust. Into thy hands I commend my spirit. Because I trust. Because I'm willing. Now, each one of us is facing a crucifixion. Whether we recognize it or not, these are hard times, friends. We're challenged. If we're going to get through this, we need to remember who we are. Who we are what we belong to, what we stand for. Gandhi said, in moments of despair, I always remember that truth and love have always won.
Right. Yes.
So remember that. And the author Clarissa Piccola Estes says, don't lose heart. We were made for these times. We were made for these times. We got the truth. We got the love. We got the presence. We're spiritual warriors. And so in that light, may all beings remember their essence as loving awareness. May all beings live from loving awareness. May we experience justice, compassion, and peace in our world. May all beings everywhere awaken and be free. May all experience eternally present love. Unity of Hartford, God bless you. Thank you for inviting me today.